I'm hanging in there today, having some technical difficulties, but besides that, I'm hanging in there. How about yourself?
Same, same. Uh, Maybe it's just technical difficulty day.
Yeah. Well, welcome to MT Fridays, folks. We're filling the brain drain one unscripted conversation at a time. I'm Melonya, and
I am Tahitia, and we're amazing.
just so you know, we get together every Friday and we have discussions about whatever's on our mind. We don't know beforehand what the other person is bringing to the table. It's always a surprise. So, what are
It
you
is.
bringing to the table today?
Oh my gosh, there's so much I could be bringing to the table that I kind of like my brain froze. And then we had a little bit of technical difficulty, so it froze a little more. But I would love to explore a little bit of like anti capitalism coaching because I actually went to a session by someone who is an anti capitalist coach. So I was going to talk a little bit about that. Though
Hmm.
I could have, though there's so much that has happened, right? since our since the last time we spoke.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about my being in the process of deciding whether to leave social media. I mean, or limit it to two outlets like YouTube and LinkedIn. Um, I I I think that um, the that is from something else. I think that um, I think that the world was happier when I didn't know what people were thinking. I didn't. Uh, it was so much happier when I didn't know. Um,
So that almost sounds like you liked it better when you were a little naive to certain things about the world. Because social media has given people this sort of, at least this is my assessment, this excuse to be sometimes the worst person that they can be, and then also put that out there. I think before it felt very like in person, I'm probably not going to be a toxic person because in person, somebody else can physically react to that. Um, and social media, you can make up names, like people don't have to say where they're coming from. There is a lot of toxic stuff on social media. I don't disagree with that.
and a part of that also, a part of this decision is also based in capitalism, that we are the commodity these days, right? And we are being mined for our information, and all of these social media outlets are gathering our information. And now there's also a consolidation of data that is being captured, by companies like Palantir, who are associated with our government. And so, whatever you like and whatever you tweet and whatever you post, these things are being captured. And if you're, on Meta is, very much involved with our government now. And so I'm looking at, our surveillance state that we're moving into. I'm also, um, and also, depending upon what you're talking about, if you're talking about things that folks deem, dangerous, so to speak, then whatever you're posting gets hidden anyway, right?
Mm.
And so but I think my thinking was this, Tahisha, when I think back on the things that have been commodities, right? You know, our forest, right? Our forest. We have decimated forests to the point of, we need trees to clean our environment, right? But we keep deforesting big swaths of land. We hunt, not we. when things are commoditized, is that even a word? When they
It
are,
can be a word. It's like bigly. No.
yeah, when things are become a commodity, like folks have hunted things to extinction. When things become commodities, they are usually destroyed. And
Mm,
then I stopped to think about what that means, that we are the commodity now. And are
right,
they
right.
going to mine us until we're destroyed? And my thinking is kind of like, yes, they are. Um, because we're no longer humans, we are data. We are our outlet for capitalism and buying and spending and manipulation.
Mm,
And so, yeah, I've really been thinking, what does it look like? Because I'm old enough to know life before social media. I'm old enough to know life before cell phones. I'm old enough to know that, a lot. Do I really want to have, and do I want to have connection with people in my community, or do I crave connection, or having access to people, you know, uh, all over the world, that I don't really have a connection to. So I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts these days.
yeah, and you know what? I kind of well, you know that like I have a lot of dissonance and like contradictory behaviors with social media. I love the concept of social media, so I have a lot of social media accounts and play around in them, and I am probably uh I'm not an advocate for social media, but when social media first started to appear, which was really just ways to connect with people, uh, so if you're looking at the needs help thing that popped up, that
Yeah.
was because we were having tech issues. I reached out to tech and they just reached back. So
Wow.
we
So
can
how do
ditch
we
that.
how do we
I'm
get rid of
ignoring
it?
it.
But it can we get rid of it?
Yeah, let's just say go away. I'm just going to say it's fine. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Um, Okay, thank you. We did that already. Um, we're like tech geniuses because he suggested the answer that solved it, but we're already live. Um, yeah, so sorry about that, folks, if you're watching this live. Um, so what was I saying? Oh, I have a lot of social media stuff, and I do feel kind of at odds with that because I do know it's a source of a lot of data mining. I do know that initially for example, Facebook, I was an early user of Facebook. And one of the reasons why I found Facebook so appealing is that the purpose of it was to really connect with like old college friends, or it was really for people in college to like create connection and to kind of have this like community. Because I remember I was first invited by a younger person, that I knew. So why does it say Restream allows you to
Oh my God. What kind? That
we're
is not.
being data mined right now by Restream. This is why I was like, I don't think we should do Restream. There's a lot of glitchiness with it. And I
I,
did say that out loud. Um,
that's so weird.
so anywho, um, I So I have some conflict with this because I can see the good that could come out of these social media platforms. However, as we move towards less regulation, I doubt that that will be the case. And by less regulation, I mean regulation in how it's implemented, how it rolls out, how the data is used, your control over that data. Not too long ago, a lot of social platforms were being asked about whether they targeted children and whether they created more depression and loneliness in young people, because there was a lot of bullying, and we know that there was bullying. So Meta did at one, or not Meta, Facebook did have a program where they had moderators, and even their moderators and the people that would go through stuff would literally say it felt like it was like trauma inducing to see some of the stuff that was happening on social media. They actually got rid of that team. They parsed that down. He explained why, we're not doing that anymore. The real reason, it was very costly. And it's very costly to moderate and to ensure that what you put out on the internet is actual real information. But I believe Facebook Meta made, I don't even know, but I know they made more than you and I. And my question, enough to do goofy stuff, like hire
A
or
dude
like
for 200
say,
women. They
yeah,
hired somebody for from Apple AI. They poached someone and for $200 million, $200 million. And when I saw that number this morning, I was like, that's all the more reason. I mean, if you can pay somebody a salary of $200 million, and that the chances of me ever seeing $200 million in this lifetime is zilch, right?
it's wild. They're poaching anyone that they feel is very AI savvy, like all the top AI people, because um, it's like, if I can't build it, I'm going to just kind of pay you and buy out. And you know who had a similar way of doing that? Amazon. So Amazon started out as a bookstore, and what they did was they bought their competitors. So Meta is sort of following that same theory of, if I can't create it, I'll just buy my competitors' resources. Amazon did the same. Amazon's really just a marketplace for what would have been other retailers that would have sold, and they just basically bought them up. Amazon isn't actually, from what I was reading something the other day, that said Amazon doesn't really make a huge profit off what it sells, because it's really more like a garage sale. And what they make a profit off of is people buying memberships and purchasing services. So, like, you think if you have all these members who want to get quicker shipping, um, like, you're paying anywhere from like 130 to like close to $200 for a membership. Not to mention, Amazon also has sales programs now in the back end. And I think even this podcast we do can be turned into like audiobook, like through YouTube. So they have all of this stuff that they're getting their money from. And that's really how a lot of these groups are making money, not through what they sell, but through memberships and encouraging you, like, hey, advertise with us. Like, advertisements are big. So if I know I have a captured group of people, I can sell ads. And that's how they're making a lot of money. So, and that's the other thing. Do you want to be on a social media platform where you're constantly being advertised to?
I don't, and just over the last week, I have made it an effort to really limit my exposure to social media. And the one, I guess the platform that, not, I don't know if it's considered social media, but is YouTube. I'm on YouTube quite often, but I'm also very tired of being advertised to.
Mm.
You open, you click on something because it captures your interest, and before you get into the content of the video, you are subjected to 4 seconds of a commercial, right? And then you get into the actual content of the video. And just when somebody's about to say something that is, monumentally important, it breaks into now 20 seconds of video. I mean, of advertisement, and I'm fatigued with always having my attention pulled away. I'm fatigued with the commercials themselves. You know, the the commercials for pharmaceuticals who I just saw something the other day that what was it? It, it was I can't remember what the actual medication did. It's not coming to me, but one of the side effects was like high blood sugar. And I'm just like, well, you're trading this for diabetes? Like, does that make sense? I'm just like I think the wool has been, removed from my eyes, and I'm looking at things in a much more critically uh, uh, thinking kind of way, and I just don't feel any of this is healthy. I don't want, before, as a person of color, as a black person in America, I knew racism existed, but I didn't necessarily need to hear the inner workings and thinkings of racists. And I don't want to be exposed to that every day. I don't want to, uh, you know, see people's ugliness and meanness. Yes, it may that those things may have always existed, but I didn't make myself open to being exposed to it. I don't want to be sold to every second of my life. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that it's a punishment. If you don't want ads, then you'll pay for a subscription. Well, you know that ads are punitive, right? So
Well, and so the ad piece is interesting too because many people are already paying for a subscription to even access or to use some services. Like for example, Amazon recently added a fee if you don't want to have commercials.
Hulu,
Amazon is the richest organization out there. Disney, like if you don't want commercials, you got to go up a tier. Why? Why?
right?
You are charging people to get rid of the ads, and you're also charging them a fee to advertise to them. Like, basically, like, do you remember when cable came out? And the whole purpose behind cable was you were not going to get advertised to. If you paid X amount, you didn't have commercials. Like, I don't remember HBO having commercials.
Does
Cable wasn't
HBO have commercials?
well, now it's Max, and I'm trying to think. I don't think they do, but they might, because all of these streaming TV services are consolidating. They're merging together. Hulu and Disney are together. I think there's been talk about Paramount joining Peacock. Peacock is the new NBC. NBC owns a bunch of stuff. Um, and they're all kind of merging into these super conglomerates that would not have been allowed previously.
Yes, HBO Max, known as Max, offers an ad-supported plan, meaning some subscribers will encounter commercials. So why am I paying for a subscription only to
Exactly.
be sold to again? That's the one reason why people get these subscriptions. I don't want to be inundated with ads, right? I don't want that.
And the other thing, you mentioned this, it is kind of impacting, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm not sure if we have anybody watching the live, but the other thing that is really impacting is people's ability to concentrate.
Yes.
So if you're concentrating on something, and there's research out this about that this particular topic. If you're concentrating on a show or you're involved in a show and then all of a sudden your attention is broken by a different subject, your ability to have concentration for a long period of time is diminished. We know, and here's a question, like I'm wondering if anybody's ever asked this, but there are and so our favorite health secretary, Robert Jr. Kennedy Jr., whatever his name is. Um, so his big thing is like how he's going to protect people from autism, right? By like getting rid of vaccines or whatever he's doing with that. Why isn't he targeting the concentration issue when all of these ads pop up on television and distract your attention? Is that part of the issue with ADHD, which is also, and I'm not saying it is, I'm just throwing this out there, but the more things that interrupt your attention, the more likely you are to not be able to hold your attention. And we know that there are a lot, or at least it looks like maybe we have better diagnosis or screening, but like, is this part of the cause too? Like, should we be saying, hey, like we want less interruptions in our attention span because people's attentions are less. Uh,
And here's the other thing too. But what I'm, I'm paying attention to myself. And again, I think there's so much going on in our country and in the world, that it's so many negative things that you really have to protect your well-being. When people ask how I'm doing these days, I say choosing to be well. Right? It's a real active choice. And what I find is that every time a commercial comes on, I'm aggravated. If
mm,
for a split second, I'm aggravated. And so I am inviting aggravation into my world and into my life. And I don't want it. I'm not a commodity. I'm not a digital slave, right? That you just sell to anyone. I was looking at, some of Meta's privacy policy, and one of their third party partners is, I think, Google, right? So now and what I'm there is just such a concentration of power and money,
mm.
and we're the pawns. We're the people that are being used as a commodity. And I'm thinking, excuse me, I'm nobody's commodity. I'm nobody's lamb to be slaughtered. I'm not to be used. And I don't want my information just distributed to whoever is going to pay for it to use in any way that they want. And the other thing about the times that we're living in right now, excuse me, is the fact that all of these sites are being surveilled by our government. They're making note of who said negative things about ICE, or who. I mean, right now in our government, they are implementing a polygraphs for.
Well, and so I have a mixed sort of opinion on that because our government has always surveilled us. And in times when that has helped the population, we've been glad for it, right? So the Boston bomber, the government's access to all of the cameras helped to, during the marathon, track down and like find those people. Um, Instances where people's social accounts, and before it used to be harder for them to get social account information, but that has sometimes helped to shape cases against people, that something wasn't just an act in the moment, but that it was premeditated, because there is a difference between the two. um, so I kind of have a like I kind of think like, yes, they should have access to the information, but there has to be a reason for them to have access, not just, and a valid reason. So like a criminal case reason, like you've caught someone and maybe you're looking to see, like, was this something that they were planning, or more material to build a stronger case. That's not what's going on with a lot of the surveillance right now. It's being used in ways that you know
Don't protect us.
yes, are not protective.
Right.
So like I kind of have like I do have that thought about it often. But I just feel like if we also have rolled out a lot of new technology without really thinking about what is going to be the impact on society and the society's health. Because we know with young girls, there was a huge study on how Facebook impacted their sense of self and well-being, and what they looked like, and over sexualized young people. And then you have the element, when you talk about social media, of over sexualization, like kids being born now where their parents have them on social media from birth until they're teen, like family social media accounts. And I'm not going to lie and say that I don't follow some of these. And I'm like, oh, that kid's so cute and they're so cute and that dad's so funny. But the truth is, that child is a commodity making money for that parent. My kids are not at the cute phase anymore, so I can't get any cash out of them.
Oh
Um,
God, you know what? They're like, we're not really, Mom, really.
they're adorable. As adorable as you can be as an adult. Um, but like these are things that we didn't have to think about until social media came around. And we really have not thought that much about the impact, the health impact. And I think it has had a tremendous health impact on people. How many followers do you have? That's a status thing, right? Who's watching, who's not watching? Can I say something because someone's watching? Like, jobs have been lost because of people's comments on social media. And also jobs have been won because of people's comments on social media. Like, we have a president that basically ran a social media campaign based on maybe some distraction, misinformation, etc. That that perhaps a lot of society didn't take the time to research. And you mentioned drug warnings, right? So I see drug warnings as similar to we've gotten so, or like, the sign this, this is what you're signing up for. And it's very long and it's in legalese. And I find myself doing what everybody does. I click OK. I'm like, okay, yes, I want this new tech or device. And I don't read it. And most of us, if we read it, don't have the legalese to understand a lot of what's in that document. Drug warnings are similar, right? Like, like the commercial comes on that people are running around. They're like, oh, I feel so like I'm canoeing now. And then it says may cause anal leakage and blah, 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 blah. Like there's a whole list of stuff. And I'm just like, they're canoeing. She lost like 10 pounds. Even though she vomited and pooped it out, like it's cool because I don't understand the language that is in there. I'm just seeing this happy person running around. So we're very advertised to. And like I honestly, the other day I saw this ad from Care Credit. I think it's Care Credit or credit.com. And it was dogs. And the only reason I paid attention, honestly, was it was a cute dog, right? Like dogs and cats, pets, we know that people pay attention to that in commercials and social media. So I'm watching it and the guy's like, he's like, your owner doesn't know that they can take out a loan to get their teeth fixed. Like, didn't they take out a loan to get, because the dog had had his teeth fixed or cleaned. And so I thought to myself, we should not be promoting people getting into debt for health. Like it was literally like one lady was like, "Oh, I had some work done," and like whatever she was doing. And then there's another commercial where the dog is like, "Hey, your owner needs some teeth cleaning." Teeth cleaning and tooth care, that's basic healthcare. Okay. Separating dental out of healthcare is ridiculous. And it's as ridiculous as the fact that really we have three buckets, right? Like dental, mental health, and then what we call physical health. And the truth is those three things are not as impacted as it like impact your health as much as the social determinants of health, which is your environment, your economics, the job, all of that impacts your health more than those three buckets. But we don't even want to pay for those three buckets fully. Like if your teeth rot out your head, how are you going to get a job? Like honestly, because we are very physical, like we're very visual, right? So like you could have the best resume, but you show up and you got daggers in your teeth and they're all rotted out and like gas comes out your mouth. Like, are you getting hired? And I say that as someone, I think did we do some talks and I was missing a tooth because I was having, and everybody was like, oh no, you're fine. I looked back at those and I was like, God, no, I wasn't. I was like,
And,
"Rah, rah, rah."
and also the connection between oral health and heart health, right? I
Yes.
mean, these are, but yeah,
I
I'm really kind of just over it.
I was definitely repulsed by the fact that they want people to take out high interest personal
Yeah,
loans to take care of themselves.
that's just yeah, I'm really kind of over our society. I just think it's really toxic, and I think that one of the things that we owe ourselves is to figure out what part of this is working for us. Imagine how much damage would be done if people just had a day or two of social media blackout where they
Mhm.
didn't go on. Right, they burnt and to really also show social media that we can, and I think what is
Disconnect.
we can't disconnect, and what I think is even more important in the times that we live in is that we do establish a community where we live. Right, having a contact in California is great. That's I mean, somebody on your social media feed. That's all nice and wonderful, right? But in the times that are coming, is it more important for me to have connection with my family? Is it more important to have connection with my community? Is it more important to have connection with what is happening politically where I live and in my state? Right? I look at it as all as a distraction. It's it's there's something toxic about it all, and I don't think I want to participate in it.
Well, and honestly, because I was talking about like anti-capitalism and
Yeah.
my part, these are so closely related.
Hmm.
The fact that we have become such commodities because of social media leans into the, well, everybody could like make money, and it makes us more envious. It doesn't make us happier. I don't know how many times I've seen people with a situation politically say, well, they voted. Ooh, oh, that's no, that's something, I'm not talking about that right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's okay. That is a talk I'm doing on, Monday that
Oh,
I was
okay.
just
My
gonna
bad.
share at the end. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. So anyways, so what I was gonna say about that, is that we are so, um, kind of viewed as pieces of commodity that it also encourages us to think we're in this capitalism loop, right? Like, I see somebody being successful maybe in California or talking about something, and I think, "Oh, well, why can't I have that? Why can't I have $1,000,000? What can I do to get that?" Like, it's a lot of quick, rich
Hmm.
schemes and a lot of, marketing. Like, there's been so much digital money, like scams and losses, that there's an entire business, and it impacts actually how much your loans and credit costs, because now they've built in to your interest rate because they want to recover higher interest rates to count for all of these social media scams that go on. So whenever you get scammed and they're like, don't worry about it, like you don't have to pay that. Yeah, you are, because your interest rate is like 20% on a credit card now, like anywhere between 16 and like, what is it, like 30? Some people are paying 32, depending on your credit score. And these social media platforms are being kind of tied into your credit score too in certain ways. So, but yeah, the credit credit care thing really blew my mind, because one of the things that really bugs me is that medicine here is a capitalism. Like it's all about capitalism. It's all driven by pay for getting your health care. And that is also going to shift as with OBA, hospitals close and they try to make things more cost effective. Um, when we think about the idea of cost effective, like even when you hear that, do you want quality healthcare or do you want cost effective healthcare? Because the two things are not the same.
Mm, mhm. What was your topic today? You said coaching capitalism.
Oh, so I met with this person. She has open hours. And so
Is it
I
coaching anti-capitalism or?
So she's an anti-capitalist coach. So she talks about how to embody kind of like anti-capitalism into your business. So she's a business coach that talks about how to be an anti-capitalist. So I went to her uh, open office hours. So, and she does 90 minutes on the first Thursday of every month. And I will share her information. I apologize too, because I want to say that but she had a lot of great tips, and she does a lot of great programs. And she kind of approaches it from the idea that you can't really escape capitalism, right? Like, because you have to be able to get some income, you have to be able to survive. But what does it look like to thrive and also, meet your needs? So, and she is the first person that pops up when you um, when you Google anti-capitalism. So this is her. Her name is Emily Ely. And she is a coach, and she kind of talks about like how do you build ethical. And so it's not so much that that you're not, because in society today as a business owner, you're really we're a capitalist market. So but how do you do that, and how do you kind of build a sustainable business? And here's the thing that you're going to love, Melonya. You see that last line? Without relying on social media. So she's like super cool. I am touting her out there. Her name is Emily. She has open hours. You can go to her website and read more about it. But it was really cool. She's
You
really
know what? My dog is barking, so forgive me. But please help me understand what is anti-capitalist coaching? Who does she work with? What is this?
So she also does like facilitator stuff and like education to organizations. But when she's talking about how do you run a business and embody anti-capitalism, she's really talking about, well, what's your community give back? So if I'm running a business and I'm running an ethical business, like how much do I need to survive and to meet my needs and to thrive? And then when we talk about these trillionaires and billionaires, we often are just sort of like disgusted by the excess wealth, right? So when you start to do well, what what should trigger you to give back through donation, through scales like pricing scales, um, and where do you get to the point where you can work with organizations like nonprofits that and there are grades to nonprofits. There are nonprofits out there that have a lot of resources. And then there's those in the community that may be new and don't have as many. So how do you look at that? Like, how do you feel good about the work that you're doing without becoming sort of like an Amazon where I'm like, no, I really need to spend 50 million on a wedding. Nobody needs to do that. But it was a really awesome session. And the first Thursday is free, and she answers your questions about kind of like, well, how do I move towards giving back to the community more? So when she's talking about anti-capitalism, she's really talking about ethical business. Um, so, and I loved her so much that like I figured I would share her info.
That's
And
really interesting. So what is that social what is that?
so she's a social, she's a coach, she's an activist, and she's like, it's she's a Marxist, but I would say like this kind of is she's not really promoting that so much as kind of community sharing. And it was really neat to meet with other people who have this same mindset too. Like, sometimes when you want to be ethical in your business, you see so much that is unethical, that is highly successful. And you start to think, why am I po? Because like here, like I'll be honest, I don't want to be like, trying to like I don't want to be selling my wares on the corner because I'm so like I don't want to have any clients or anything like that. But like, what's the happy medium and how do you reconcile yourself? Like, what was the turning point where a lot of these people who have tons of money said, like, I just keep needing to have more, right? Mark Cuban has talked about this. He is also a very rich fella. And he's talked about like how do you run ethical businesses? Because there is sort of a saturation point. Yet, like, when do you start giving back? Like, when does Amazon start to talk about, well, how do we pay our employees an equitable raise and give them health insurance?
Well, you know what? I'm searching for a term. I don't know if it's there because what is it? Is it social responsibility, social? I mean, corporate uh, consciousness or whatever. But one of the things that I think too that has to happen as consumers is that we start to have demands of corporations. For example, now I've been boycotting Amazon since November of last year, right? And by the way, their Amazon whatever their promotion is going on now, Amazon Prime Week or day, the first day they were down 41% than they were the year before, which gave me, quite a bit of jubilation. But that being said, I'm also on top of Bezos, pulling his endorsement for Harris that was supposed to go through. He pulled at the last minute. He is a union buster. And also right now I'm understanding that probably half of his warehouses are half humans and half robots. And
And dangerous. They have a higher accident, they have a higher injury rate than other organizations. They've had people die in their warehouses because it's too hot, too
right.
cold. They had someone die, I think, overseas or have some complications. Don't quote me on any of this, but have some complications because they didn't want to call an ambulance. And ambulances are free over there. And which is bizarre, right? Like, can you imagine working at a company and you're like, I feel like I need to go to the hospital, something's wrong. And then being like, no, you need to finish your shift.
So, so,
Like,
so with that being said, I think that consumers have to have some sort of social consciousness as well. If you don't, you know what, I want to support companies that hire humans, right? Because here's the thing: if you were able to automate everything within your company and have it all be robotics, I guarantee you that would not be reflected in what you charge me. You would charge me the same as you did if you had
you
employed
might even charge more
right.
because you're like, we're so efficient. We
We're
can
so
get it
efficient.
in 2 hours to you.
Right. So you know what? So now, as a conscientious consumer, I'm going to support companies that treat their employees well, that actually hire people to do the work. All of this movement forward that we're seeing can all be stopped if we as consumers and as citizens decided to opt out of some things and to not, oh, you don't take care of your employees, well, you're not going to get my money.
Mhm.
You're not. But there's a social what is it?
It's the corporate responsibility law encompasses legal frameworks and regulations that govern how businesses manage their social, environmental, and economic impacts. I'm reading this off of
Yeah,
the
because
internet.
some companies.
But I want to say that this administration has scaled back on the CSR stuff, which is like the environmental stuff would be thrown in here, and we saw that the environmental regulations when it comes to organizations is less, like they're not enforcing a lot of that stuff. The social piece where you're looking at labor laws and regulations that impact organizations like unions and things like that. We've seen a lot more union busting and the government not really doing anything about that. Um, and even their ESG reports have been different. ESG or ESR reports um, have been different. They've scaled back on how much they're putting into protecting employees because a lot of companies function on the return on investment and their board holders and here's where we
ESG, that was
get
what I was looking for, environmental, social, and governance. That's what I was. There was a movement at some point for companies to move in that direction, but I haven't heard of this in a long time now.
because it's not supported by at least here in the US, it is not as supported by this administration. It's seen as a barrier. We've seen a lot of discussions about, we have too many regulations, right? Too many regulations. Too many regulations harm business. They could, but they also protect people. So when you hear organizations or the government saying like, "Oh, we want to like shift regulation, we want to privatize it," because privatization is another way that we shift regulation, right? Um, that's not necessarily a good thing. Do you really want there not to be someone looking at the drugs that come to you before they arrive to you? Like, do you not want an FDA? Do you not want a Federal Trade Commission, which is the FTC? Do you not want someone to make sure that the planes can take off and land without crashing? Because how many issues have we seen with airplanes this year? Um, and so, like, if we get rid of all of this, the responsibility of corporations to make it safe and deregulate a lot of things, what will society look like? Like, and so, like, recently, and listen, like, I get people don't like all of the layers of rules, and there are some regulations that seem like, ugh. Because, like, I will say this, Joint Commission coming to the hospitals and inspecting, that is one of the bodies that regulates hospitals. Um, it always felt hard, like, "Oh, they're coming, and what if they don't? Like, what if they find something?" Now, I look back at that time in my life when I was an educator on a unit and feeling that panic, like, "Oh my gosh, I hope my unit does well." And we would run around and we would, like, make it so beautiful because they were coming. Like, maybe we should have been doing that all along and had enough staff to do that all along. Because and any hospital person will tell you this that works in a hospital, the times that they overstaff you, Joint Commission's in the house, because that's when you're going to get approved for your accreditation. So they actually would come in and find things and issues and make recommendations. But if you want to get rid of those bodies and deregulate, like, it is going to be harmful to individuals. Um, It's not going to be harmful to businesses. So listen to the language too, because I love to listen to language. I do sensitivity reviews at my organization. And when they say the overregulation of business is bad, what are they really saying? They're not saying that overregulation is bad for people. And those are the individuals. They're talking about business. They're trying to make a correlation that if businesses have to follow more rules, there'll be less employees and economic growth. But Amazon, Meta, Google, these places have billions of dollars. The shareholders, yes, I get it. You want to make money hand over fist, and the board wants to make money. But are we thinking about the end, the long-term plan? Because this is a very short-sighted plan to not think about society. Because yes, you can opt out if you have millions of dollars and you can create little safe bubble communities. And I'm not a fan of like pushing dystopian stuff, but any fiction dystopian movie you watch, right? Everybody in the dystopian world is like killed. Okay. So, like, if you think, or maybe that's why they're building so many rockets, they want to leave the planet. But that's very, like, perhaps conspiracy-ish, and I don't like that. But, like, really, we have to be thinking about, who's saying this and how are they saying it? Are they saying it's going to help people in the end? I'm curious to see what's going to happen when all of these Medicaid cuts come through. And really what you're going to see is probably less access to services for people who get sick. So, yeah.
You know what? I've been really thinking about, capitalism, and I've been hearing basically something to the the message is that in some cases, companies, because of their legal commitment to their stakeholders, they have to do things that are unethical.
And that's when stakeholders, stakeholders, shareholders, people who, like, if my stock's not going up, if we're not making a profit, where we have to ask ourselves, well, what kind of businesses do we want to be investing in? Right. Like, and I'm not going to say I don't love when I get interest over out of investments. Whenever my son has, like a savings account for college that I've been investing in for since he was like a little kid. And I will say there's moments when I'm like, oh my gosh, it went down. Cause like that's how I plan to pay for his education. And it's very dependent on the stock market and how they invest. So like I too get that, like, oh, my retirement, because like our retirements too. Many of us don't have quote pensions. What we have is 401ks, which entirely sit on stock investments and those type of investments that rely on capitalism and business. Does anybody remember like the days of the pension where you knew you were going to get this much if you work this long? That is not the case. Like, and like, I'll be honest, I'm not sure pensions function in a similar way, but I invested in my 401k and I'm sure, or 403, whatever I was investing in, I was also putting some money into it. So I felt like, oh, my employer might have been, but it wasn't completely employer sponsored. So we have shifted from the way things used to function in the 50s and 60s and 40s and 30s to a much different compensation package for employees. And we have just accepted it. We have just been like, oh, okay, we don't have any power. I saw something recently that those in leadership and CEOs and chiefs and stuff like that have got their salaries have increased by like 1,000%. And the salary for the average frontline worker has not. Like the federal minimum wage, I think, is like $8 or $7. I don't
I think
know
it's
who can live on
725.
that.
I think it's 725. And
So,
that's over multiple administrations. That's Republican, that's
yes.
Democrat. But here's the thing. this is, I guess, where I'm finding myself today, and maybe that's why I need to unplug from social media and just, I don't know, focus on those things that are really important to me. And any content creators, like I said, I tend to like video, YouTube. Um, I'm tired of their commercials, but that being said, I don't know how much hope I have in the American populace to be cognizant of how they're spending their money, why they wouldn't support an organization or a company to do the research to say, on the things that I buy the most, right? The brands that I buy the most or the things that I buy the most. Do I have it in me to do any research in terms of,
Or do you have the time? Because
well,
that's the other thing.
well, let me just say this. We have time to do whatever the things that we want to do. People spend a whole inordinate amount of time on social media. They do.
Well, and
They
so
do.
yes,
You could put down, not click on social media and actually pick up a book or do some research. The people don't want
I
to do
think we're coming from a place of privilege when we say that. If I am a single mom working 3 jobs, I don't know if I have the time to do the research to figure out, like, here's the places I should shop at, here's the things that I should, like, disconnect from, here's the like, and I'm just saying from a time perspective, like, there is a difference between research and brain dead social media scrolling,
The
and
average
that's what I wanna
person
point out.
spends approximately 2 hours and 24 minutes on social media each day.
Now, and so but also let's think if they're working full time, they're working 8-hour shifts, right? We say full time in the US is anywhere between 35 to 40 hours. So they're working full time, they're spending about 2 to 3 hours on social media. So that's, let's say that's 11 hours. So let's say, when do they have like the
Well,
time to commute, or maybe they work from home?
you don't have to spend 2 hours a day on social media. You could take that time and put it into some. Here's the thing,
You could, but I'm just saying that it's
they're not.
very easy for us to say, like, people should not spend as much time on social media, but social media has also become a brain dead, like watching TV, right? Like, people used to go home and watch TV
Right.
to de-stress or read a book. Before TV, they read a book, they went to a movie, whatever. So I think we have to throw social media in the entertainment category, because for a lot of people, it is not a research thing. It's
Right.
just entertainment.
Like, what yes, but what I'm saying is that that is our time. Here's the thing: the days of us being obtuse and really not paying attention to what is going on in our world and on our planet is over. And the reason why I think we are here in the United States where we are is because people have been distracted by so much, as well as misinformed and undereducated. So when I put those three things together, I kind of have no hope for
I
us.
want you to have hope, because you know what? More people know the word anti-capitalism and socialism and fascism and end of democracy terms, and are aware of the impacts of social media and loneliness. More people know this and are aware of these terms in some ways because of social media. Like, more people are talking about, well, what does it look like? And talking is not action, right? But that is definitely a shift from where we were. And I also think we've had a weird sort of what is this, like 10 years post pandemic, right? So we have to throw the pandemic in there, where I think a lot of people relied on social media in much more different ways. Because I think I saw something where there was like a spike in people using social media. People got free computers to stay connected. People went to school. So I think we do have like it got a bump. But where are we now that we can go outside, right? So, because there was a time when everything was kind of And now that we're back to interacting physically with each other, how do I scale back? How do I use this the way that it maybe was intended to be used?
Well, it was always
And
intended to mine our information and to sell to us.
well, I'm saying, and
I mean,
no, I think when they were
no,
first sitting around, they wanted to
no.
make some money and make some connections with each other, and then when they saw the money to
No,
be
I'm
made.
saying the intent of those who developed social media was never really for us to be social. It was always a means of getting our time, our attention, and selling to us. That's always been the yeah. I mean, it's there's a great documentary on social media and Meta and people who or Facebook who were at the um, were at the ground floor of Facebook, and they knew exactly what they were building and why they were building it. And it was never for us. It was never to connect people. It was always to sell to us. So anyway, we're at the hour.
We are at the hour. I just want to share something real quick. On Monday, I will be with this awesome person. She's doing a workshop. Her name is Femley. I'm going to drop it into the chat box where you can sign up. I went through this program early on. She really helped me to. She really helped me to have confidence that I could I was side hustling as a speaker, and she really just helped me to have confidence to grow that a little bit bigger. And then when I had some health and issues that I needed to have more flexibility, I relied on those tools and techniques to like boost myself to kind of step into business for myself. So I'm excited to be on this panel of previous what do they call those, alumni who went through and talk about just how to build that, and just I admire them so much. So, and
Awesome.
the other folks that are on here. So
Well, awesome. Well, you have that link in the chat. Awesome. You just take the best pictures. You really do. You just take the best pictures, Tahitia. Well, it has been,
no, because you know what? I
I
Googled
love that
myself
picture.
that picture is a good picture. I Googled myself the other day because, like, I think everybody should Google themselves and see where they rank or if you can even find yourself. And the picture that shows up is, I think it's like this picture where, like, and I didn't get rid of it because it was like I was talking about how I was keeping I'd stopped dyeing my hair. But I look like it's just like the worst picture.
You
I'm
take
like,
those
why does
pictures.
that picture come
You
up
take
instead of this like nicer? Like, this is the picture I'm trying to throw out there. But it's always a picture of me like mouth
no.
open, talking on some
You're very
webinar.
photogenic. You take great pictures. How to build a reputation that opens doors. When is that?
So that's going to be this Monday on the 14th. And if you're on Pacific time, it's at noon. I'm going to throw that in the chat too. Mm-mm-mm-mm. And you know what? I'm going to put it in yeah. Okay. So there we go. So these are the times and the link. And so I look forward to seeing people there, hopefully. And it should be a fun time.
Awesome. Well, thank you for our conversation today. Thank you all who join us or join us later. We'll be here next Friday at 9 a.m. Until then, stay curious. We had a good time and hope you did too. Join us each Friday as we fill the brain drain one unscripted conversation at a time. Like, subscribe, and share. Help us spread our reach on YouTube. Until next Friday, stay curious.